Have you ever wondered about the story behind one of the biggest names in the automotive world? The one that gave us iconic brands like Chevrolet, Cadillac, and Buick. Today, we're diving deep into the incredible history of General Motors, a journey filled with ambition, innovation, crisis, and rebirth. It all started back in 1908, a time when the automobile was still a novelty. A visionary named William C. Durant, who was already a successful carriage maker, saw the future, and it was powered by an internal combustion engine. He founded General Motors with a bold and somewhat radical idea for the time. Instead of just one car company, why not a holding company that owned several? Durant was a master salesman and a risk taker. He quickly began acquiring other car companies, starting with Buick, which was already a successful brand. He soon added Oldsmobile, Cadillac, and Pontiac to the growing family. His strategy was to offer a car for every purse and purpose, a ladder of brands that a customer could climb as their income and status grew. However, Durant's aggressive expansion nearly bankrupted the company. He was ousted, only to return a few years later after co-founding another company you might have heard of, Chevrolet. In a brilliant corporate maneuver, he used Chevrolet's success to regain control of GM, bringing the boaty brand into the fold. It was this diverse portfolio that set GM apart and laid the foundation for its future dominance. After Durant's final departure, a new leader, Alfred P. Sloan Jr., took the wheel. Sloan was the opposite of Durant. He was a methodical, organized executive. He refined Durant's car for every purse strategy, creating a clear hierarchy for the brands. Chevrolet was the entry-level choice, Pontiac was a step up, then Oldsmobile, Buick, and at the very top, the pinnacle of luxury, Cadillac. This structured approach, combined with innovations like annual model year changes and consumer credit through the General Motors Acceptance Corporation, or GMAC, propelled GM to become the undisputed leader of the automotive industry. For decades, 1 in every 2 cars sold in America was a GM product. The company wasn't just building cars, it was building the American dream. The post-World War II era was GM's golden age. The company was an absolute powerhouse of innovation and style. Think about the iconic designs of the 1950s. Much of that came from GM's design studios, led by the legendary Holly Earl. In 1948, Cadillac introduced the first tail fins, inspired by the P-38 Lightning fighter plane, and a design craze was born. The very next year, in 1949, GM rolled out the first pillarless hardtop coupe, giving cars a sleek, open-air feel. Under the hood, things were just as exciting. Oldsmobile launched its rocket V8 engine in 1949, a high-compression overhead valve engine that brought high performance to the masses and is considered a forerunner to the muscle car era. Then, in 1952, power steering became available, making large American cars much easier to drive. GM was setting the pace, and the rest of the industry was just trying to keep up. As the market evolved, so did GM. The company demonstrated an incredible ability to read and even create new market segments. When the muscle car craze hit in the 1960s, GM was right there with legendary models like the Pontiac GTO and the Chevrolet Chevelle SS. As buyers started looking for something a bit sportier and more personal, GM responded with the pony car segment, introducing the Chevrolet Camaro and Pontiac Firebird to compete with Ford's Mustang. The company also catered to the growing demand for intermediate-sized cars with huge sellers like the Oldsmobile Cutlass, which for many years was the best-selling car in America. Even when fuel efficiency became a concern, GM entered the subcompact market with the Chevrolet Vega. While the Vega had its share of problems, it showed GM's commitment to competing in every corner of the market, a strategy that kept them at the top for so long. But no empire lasts forever without facing challenges. By the 1980s, the giant began to stumble. The oil crises of the 1970s had changed the game, and a new wave of competition from Japanese automakers like Toyota and Honda was flooding the market with smaller, more fuel-efficient, and incredibly reliable cars. GM, with its massive bureaucracy and slow decision-making processes, struggled to respond effectively. Critics pointed to badge engineering, where cars from different divisions like Chevrolet, Pontiac, and Oldsmobile were nearly identical except for their logos and grills. This diluted the distinct identities that Alfred Sloan had so carefully built. Quality issues also began to tarnish the company's reputation. The giant was wounded, and its market share began a slow and steady decline. Realizing that drastic changes were needed, GM embarked on a series of radical restructuring efforts in the 1990s. The company launched Saturn as a different kind of car company, with no haggle pricing and a focus on customer service, in an attempt to win back buyers who had strayed to foreign brands. There were massive cost-cutting measures and painful plant closures. Leadership, like CEO Jack Smith, tried to streamline the bloated corporate structure and give more autonomy back to the individual car divisions. They focused on improving product quality and design, leading to some successful models like the redesigned trucks and SUVs that were becoming increasingly popular with American families. It was a turbulent and difficult period of transition, an attempt to steer a massive ship in a completely new direction before it hit an iceberg. The changes were significant, but were they enough to save the company from the storm that was brewing on the horizon? The turn of the 21st century brought a perfect storm of challenges for General Motors. Decades of high labor costs, massive pension and healthcare obligations to retirees, and a continued loss of market share to relentless foreign competitors created a financial crisis. The company was burning through cash at an alarming rate. When the global financial crisis of 2008 hit, credit markets froze and car sales plummeted. For GM, it was a knockout blow. The company, once a symbol of American industrial might, was on the brink of collapse. In 2009, the unthinkable happened. General Motors filed for bankruptcy. The US government stepped in with a controversial and massive bailout package to save the company and the millions of jobs that depended on it. Out of the ashes of bankruptcy, a new General Motors emerged. It was a leaner, more focused company. Four of its 8 North American brands, Pontiac, Saturn, Hummer, and Saab, were discontinued. The new GM was freed from many of its past liabilities and had a much healthier balance sheet. The bailout came with strict conditions, forcing the company to become more efficient and globally competitive. The goal was not just to survive, but to thrive in a rapidly changing automotive landscape. This new company quickly focused on developing vehicles that the market demanded, like the Chevrolet Cruze and the innovative Chevrolet Volt, a plug-in hybrid that signaled a major shift toward new technologies. It was a painful but necessary rebirth, setting the stage for one of the most remarkable corporate comebacks in history. Leading this new era of GM is a historic figure in the auto industry, Mary Barra. In 2014, she became the first female CEO of a major global automaker. Her leadership has been defined by a clear vision for the future and a willingness to make tough, strategic decisions. Under Barra, GM has sharpened its focus on its most profitable segments, trucks and SUVs. You can see this in the continued success of the Chevrolet Silverado, GMC Sierra, and the full lineup of SUVs like the Tahoe and Escalade. She has also pushed the company aggressively toward an all-electric future, with massive investments in battery technology and a new generation of EVs. This focus on the future also meant letting go of the past. One of her boldest moves was selling the Opel and Vauxhall brands in Europe, a region where GM had been losing money for years. It was a clear signal that the new GM would not be sentimental. It would be strategic, agile, and laser-focused on leading the next great automotive revolution. So, what does the future hold for General Motors? The company is betting big on what it calls its 000 vision: zero crash, zero emissions, and zero congestion. This is a bold ambition that hinges on the development of electric vehicles and autonomous driving technology. GM's Ultium battery platform is the foundation for a whole new lineup of EVs, from the GMC Hummer EV to the Cadillac Lyriq and the affordable Chevrolet Equinox EV. At the same time, its subsidiary, Cruise Automation, is one of the leaders in the race to develop and deploy self-driving cars. Of course, the competition is fiercer than ever, with traditional automakers and new tech companies all vying for a piece of the future. But with a history of reinvention and a clear roadmap, General Motors is determined to remain a dominant force in the automotive world for another 100 years. From Durant's ambition to Sloan's strategy, from the crisis of bankruptcy to the leadership of Mary Barra, the story of GM is a powerful lesson in resilience and adaptation. Thank you so much for watching this journey through the history of General Motors. It's a story that's far from over. What's your favorite GM car of all time? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next deep dive into automotive history. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.